here we go. Shrink, shrank, shrunk. When Stink woke up the next morning, his bed felt as it was as big as the country. The ceiling was up there with the sky, and it was a long way down to the floor. When he went to brush his teeth, even the sink seemed too tall. Yipe, I really am shrinking, said Stink, checking himself out in the mirror. Were his arms a little shorter? Was his head a little smaller? Stink got dressed. He put on up and down striped pants and an up and down striped shirt. What's with the stripes? Asked Judy. Makes me look taller, said Stink. If you say so, said Judy. If you really want to look taller, here's what you need to do. Judy handed him a fancy shampoo-type bottle. Put this hair gel on your hair and leave it in for 10 minutes. Then you'll be able to comb your hair so it sticks up straight. Sticking up hair will make you look taller. Stink put the goopy goop in his hair. He left it in there while he made his bed. He left it in his hair while he packed his backpack. He left it in his hair all through breakfast. We could play baseball and you could be shortstop, Judy told him. So funny, I forgot to laugh, said Stink. Judy pointed to Stink's hair. Hey, I think it's working, she said. Really? You think people will notice? They'll notice, said Judy. Stink ran upstairs to look in the mirror. Hey, my hair! It's orange! Don't worry, said Judy. It'll wash out in about a week. I look like a carrot, said Stink. Carrots are tall, said Judy, as she laughed all the way to the bus stop. Stink's friend Elizabeth sat next to him in class. They were the two shortest kids in class 2D, so they sat up front. Hey, Elizabeth, said Stink. I'm not Elizabeth anymore, she told Stink. From now on, call me Sophie of the Elves. Okay. I have a new name, too. The Incredible Shrinking Stink. But Stink, you look taller today, said Elizabeth. It's just the hair, said Stink. I'm still short. Not to an elf. To an elf, you'd be a giant. To an elf, you would be the Elf King. Thanks, Sophie of the Elves, said Stink. The bell rang and Mrs. Dempster passed out spelling words. 3 of the new words were shrink, shrank, shrunk. At lunch, the dessert was strawberry shortcake. And in reading, Mrs. Dempster read everyone a book called The Shrinking of Treehorn. This book was all about a boy who plays games and reads cereal boxes and gets shorter and shorter. He keeps shrinking and shrinking. Then, just when he becomes a normal size again, he turns green. Any comments? Mrs. Dempster asked when the story was over. Stink raised his hand. Is that a true story? Mrs. D laughed. I'm afraid not, she said. It's fantasy. Fantasy's my favorite, said Sophie of the Elves, especially hobbits and elves. Are you sure it's fantasy? Asked Stink, because that kid is a lot like me, because I'm... Stink could not make himself say shrinking. Because you both turned another color? Asked Webster. Because I like to read everything on cereal boxes too, said Stink. Okay, said Mrs. Dempster. Let's see. Who's going to carry the milk from the cafeteria today? Stink was barely paying attention. He never got asked to carry the milk. How about Mr. James Moody? Said Mrs. Dempster. Me? Asked Stink. He sat up taller. I get to carry the milk? Stink walked down the second grade hallway. It looked longer than usual, and wider. He took the stairs down to the cafeteria. Were there always this many stairs? His legs felt shorter, like they shrink, shrank, shrunk. Stink got the milk crate. He carried the milk up the stairs, past the office, and past the teacher's room. Now his arms felt shorter. He needed a rest. He set the milk down outside the nurse's office. Hi, Stink, called Mrs. Bell. I see you have a new hairstyle. My sister turned it orange, said Stink. So, what brings you here today? Headache, sore throat? There's a lot going around, you know. Is shrinking going around? Asked Stink, because I think I'm shrinking. As in getting shorter. You're shrinking? What makes you think so? My sister, she measures me every morning, and I'm always 3 feet 8 inches. But last night she measured me before I went to bed, and I'd shrunk. I was only... Oh, bonkers. You're okay. But last night she measured me before I went to bed and I'd shrunk. I was only 3 feet 7 3/4 inches. I'm a whole 1/4 inch shorter. Don't worry, honey, said Mrs. Bell. Everyone shrinks during the day. We're all a little shorter at night than we are in the morning. Seriously? Seriously, from gravity and all the walking around we do. The pads between our bones shrink during the day. At night, they soak up the water and expand again. We all shrink? asked Stink. That's what I'm saying. Everybody shrinks. Scientific, said Stink. The Adventures of Stink in King of the Elves. I'm going to show you the picture first. Beautiful Sophie of the Elves falls under the dreaded gravity spell. An evil witch pours Hex Mix in Sophie's sneakers. My feet feel so heavy. Poof. Ta-da! Stink, King of the Elves, arrives. Not a minute to lose. Anti-gravity soaking chamber 1 mile. There. 30 seconds later, my hero. A larger-than-life statue to thank Stink. Tomorrow we'll read Up, Up, Up.